D&D Beyond now fits in the palm of your hand with the free D&D Beyond app. It's the perfect toolset for beginners, regular players, and seasoned dungeon masters. Play faster with the guided character creator and access your character sheets, spells, and abilities wherever you go. All of your adventures and source books are at your fingertips, even when you're offline. Easily find and access the rules you need when you need them. With more features to come, download the free D&D Beyond app today.
To D&D Beyond! And I'm going to give the formal intro here. Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft is out today, which will introduce you to incredible new worlds of terror in the form of new monsters, player options, and of course, dozens of domains of dread, each with its own quirks, dangers, and terrifying, yet doomed, Dark Lord at its heart. But not only can you play with these domains, Van Richten's will help you take things one step further, giving you the tools to construct your very own domain of dread. And here to help me try out these steps and construct our own terrible little dystopia, please welcome the one, the only, Taliesin Jaffe. Hi!
Hi! I don't feel
How's
very
it
terrifying
going?
at the moment. It's going pretty good. It's always nice to be on the internet with you. This is lovely. So, hi, good morning, afternoon. I don't know what time it is. It's afternoon. That's right.
Good zone,
No.
all.
They're all wonderful.
Absolutely. I am, of course, particularly delighted just to hang out with you on the internet at any given time, but especially so given that today is Van Richten's Day, and today is all about terror and horror and torment, and all of that good creepy stuff that, I don't want to say you can probably do in your infinite and undying sleep, but maybe?
It's all hard. We make it look easy, but this is all terrible. This is all panic-inducing, so that's good. I got to come up with some new terrifying thing. I don't even know.
Well,
I've
that's what
specifically
we're
not
going
thought
to do.
about this. I'm so excited to try this out. Blank slate.
So this will be a blank slate. Of course, for those who might not be familiar, Ravenloft is a world made an unworld, sort of. It's its own demi-plane of dread, and it contains a bunch of smaller realms known as the Domains of Dread, and each one of them has at its heart both its ruler and its victim in the form of a Dark Lord whose terrible crimes usually were the reason that that person and their realm got sucked into the mists by mysterious forces who are not the subject of our discussion today, but who just have a great time assembling all their little dolls to play with and to torment for some version of eternity, as the realms around the Dark Lords reflect them and their crimes. Okay, so I'm gonna actually just go straight to the intro. If we can see the intro for the Creating Domains of Dread section for Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft.
Oh, yes.
Complete with very beautiful dramatic illustration. Ravenloft is a place where your nightmares can run wild, where anything you can imagine in moments of dread or despair can come to frightful life among the mists. The setting as a whole is made up of countless isolated domains, each one a perfect expression of a particular flavor of the macabre. Creating your own domain allows you to blend legendary evils, unexpected monstrosities, and grim settings into a tailor-made whole, bound together by mysterious mists and buried alive inside your favorite horror genres. This chapter explores how to create such domains, a process that starts by defining a Dark Lord, the villain at the heart of each sinister realm. Descriptions of various genres of horror also provide details to create and inspire your creations, to guide and inspire your creations. So at the end of this chapter, for anyone who might have their Van Richtens or want to grab it right now, there's actually a set of pages devoted to the major genres. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. There's a set of pages devoted to genres of horror, and they even have tables for inspiration and tropes to lean into and tropes to avoid, and a bunch of helpful advice. There's no need for any of that, but like so many of things in this book, it is here to help and inspire you if you want it. So, let's say we need to create ourselves a domain of dread. How do we start? The
You
first steps
yeah.
that they take you through in the book. What? I mean, feel
No, go
free to
ahead.
just launch it at
Oh,
any time. But
I'm following along. I've got my book right here.
excellent.
This is like evil reading Rainbow.
It's so fun. uh, so yeah, the first steps they give you in the book are really great. They are suggestions for basing your Dark Lord around a party. If you already have a set of PCs that you're going to be taking through this domain, you can have them give you, of course, their descriptions and their backstories and their traits, and then either exaggerate or reverse their traits to sort of fill out and illustrate your Dark Lord. We don't exactly have a party in mind for this, so we don't need to do that, but we can, you can keep that in mind, how you would want it to reflect adventurers. And we can go straight to, all right, Taliesin, who was this person and what
Well,
did they do?
Well, I don't. I was thinking reading forward about the like creating like a nemesis for a hero, and I was trying to think what because that's such a good jumping off point as opposed to the if you look out into the broad world, you're going to be have analysis paralysis, and there's just too many options. So I was trying to think of like a good hero to either do the like the chaotic reflection, kind of like the Batman versus Joker, or like the kind of twisted Batman versus Owlman, or like that weird. There's that weird like tiny narrow one where you've got a hero and a villain. The villain is literally just the hero taken to a slight extreme, like Batman Punisher kind of thing, where it's kind of the same thing, but one has just decided not to be like empathetic about it, really.
Absolutely. I love the universe of Batman comparisons. Please continue.
I mean, it's such a good. Well, I think I kind of want to make your villain a little bit like what would I kind of like. I was kind of flashing into that Twilight Zone episode about the mean book reader. This is the guy who's just like loved books but was shitty to everybody else. Twilight Zone, by the way, is a wonderful collection of tiny little domains of dread. They do that real well.
And I think that's a great call out if you're looking for inspiration as you are running games like this, trying to look for tone hints, trying to look for content ideas, trying to look for possibilities. I think you could do a lot worse than to mine some Twilight Zone.
It's such a collection of ironic punishment. But yeah, I feel like what would an evil librarian have? Do we want to do the like chaotic librarian who burned down like a great collection of knowledge or do we want to do a like somebody who was just covetous of books and just like would collect and destroy people in order to like slowly accumulate and never read like a dragon, or I don't know. There's a lot of options.
Those are great options. Oh my gosh.
I'm just thinking
okay,
of Evil You. What would Evil You look like?
The bookshelf will stay forever. If you were to start talking about the personality for this Dark Lord, what would be their ideal? So in one sense, what's an ideal that the Dark Lord holds dear and that governs their greater actions?
If they had an ideal, personal knowledge, I suppose, if I was gonna like, that would be a good one. You're somebody who really appreciates knowledge, but almost a covetous version of knowledge is most powerful when it is not shared. So just a collector, a hoarder of secrets and truths. So
the secrets are only safe here. It sounds like this is a person who burned down the library.
Collected what they needed and burned the rest down so that no one knows what they have. Possibly like somebody with money, maybe a bit of a spy master, someone who is just really felt that their safety and that their world was revolved around knowing more than everybody else at any cost.
I love it so much. So the spy master at the heart of this realm, the librarian spy master, their bond in one sentence describe a person, place, or object that the Dark Lord desires. Not just about power, but what is the power in service of?
Oh, like what are they seeking? What are they?
Yeah.
Perhaps
person, place, object.
perhaps there is either one book or a library that is always beyond their reach of some sort of knowledge that they felt was the last thing they needed. Whether or not it was, or whether it would just lead to more questions, is open to debate. But they definitely, there was always one more thing that would make them safe, and they know where it is, and they know who had it, and it was always just out of reach by someone who was smarter and better and probably kinder than that. It was probably you. You have some book. you have a tome that was the last tome they really needed before everything went to shit, and they went a little too far.
I'm so excited about this. Okay, let's see. What is their wicked personality flaw that sort of causes them to act against their own interests or sort of gets in their way?
Oh, greed. I mean, that's easy. It's like if they think that they have a shot at something, they will not look at the odds. They will not, like, the minute that they're just slightly too close, they'll take a risk that is not a wise risk. I mean, that's a fun and easy one.
Heck yeah.
This is so wonderful.
This is so much fun. Okay, where was the Dark Lord? I'm ducking back a little bit to past life. So Dark Lords aren't mindless killing machines. They are full but monstrous individuals. In a few sentences, who was this Dark Lord before they made whatever choices made them irredeemable? Where did this Dark Lord hail from?
Well, I think they started small. I think they were a clerk. I think they were working possibly in kind of the ancient accounts. Like there weren't like accountants back in D&D, but there are people who manage money, and they, in a very Macbeth-like way, saw something in the books that they found something in the money that they managed to blackmail their way slowly into more money, and blackmail their way into the aristocracy. And just the more they realized that they could just dig into the information, the more they could just slowly destroy everyone on their climb to power before they had their own fiefdom built entirely on blackmail and extortion and magics that only they had, because they ruined everybody. They destroyed every copy of anything that existed beyond them. So, yes.
I love it. Did they have a family? This is so much fun. Did they have a family?
I mean, if we're going the Macbeth way, then I think they had friends and family, and I think they turned on all of them. I think that just paranoia overtook. Well, you can't. I mean, especially I think if you're a creature who understands the power of influence, the first thing you would do is remove your horcruxes, so to speak. You would take anything that you didn't have control over that might know something about you, and you just have to burn it down. Like, no one can know anything about you, and this is very those are points of weakness.
Right, the spy master cannot have those vulnerabilities.
You can't have family. You can't have friends.
Very sort of alt Batman here, sort of like, you can't know my secrets, but I must know all of yours.
This is why the Justice League doesn't trust you, man.
All right, so we talked a little bit about.
I know you know exactly
secret
what
files.
I'm talking about.
Too secret. Here's one from the suggested questions, and you don't have to, when you're making these up at home, folks. You don't have to do every single one, but I'm throwing as many of these as I can because they're super fun. Who hurt the Dark Lord?
Sometimes something real quick. You have they wandered somewhere you didn't expect, and you have just the lunch break to figure out what they wandered into. So it's a good way to quick build. Oh no.
I think we glitched out right as I was meaning to ask. Do we have in mind someone who hurt our Dark Lord along the way?
I mean, clearly whoever had the other book. I think clearly you, in my opinion. I think that
let's give Adventure Amy a name. The nemesis.
I'm trying to think of anything other than Adventure Amy, which is kind of great at the moment. Professor Dallin is really has a nice ring to it. I don't know.
We're going going with Professor Dallin.
The Professor Dallin.
Sure.
You got the upgrade. Yeah, I think that you were just they finally ran into somebody uncorruptible and like there was just they couldn't figure out the way and they couldn't and it just became an obsession and slowly drove them mad trying to figure out how to retrieve this tome. Maybe the tome had something in it that could hurt them. Maybe it was something just another chunk of power that they really thought would be the final thing they needed. But
so the final missing volume that they needed. This brings us, I'm afraid, to the section called Corrupt Beyond Redemption and the Evil Acts.
Evil Acts.
What did our Dark Lord do? At the end of their life in the regular realms, before they get pulled into the mist, they did something or a series of things that had them cross that line forever past redemption and will set them up for their own tormenting domain. What was it?
I feel I don't know. I mean, like this is where you have to think of something like you have to figure out where you want to be on the monster scale, if that makes sense. And you can kind of decide what constitutes monstrous on your own. Like what's the line from the Tick? Eat this kitten. It's just no, that's just wrong. Versus something like really outlandish.
And you'll note, folks, when you grab your Vendrictons, you'll note there's a wide range within the domains of sort of just absolutely like kitten-eating style villainy, all the way to sort of almost noble, kind of understandable, but oh my gosh, you made all the wrong choices, and I can see how you ended up here, but it will always hurt a little bit. There's a whole range you can hit here.
I mean, burning down a library is pretty mean.
Were there people in it?
Oh yes, I think anybody who worked there had to go. I think they collected what they needed and then decided that they needed to cover their tracks. And it's the needle in the haystack theory of if you want something to really vanish, you burn everything down for a quarter mile so that no one knows what happened and for why. Yeah, it's either that or something personal.
Individual crime will be buried in the sea of larger crimes.
Yes.
I was trying to track the needle in a haystack thing where I was just burn the haystack? No.
It's a small and significant crime that you hide in just a giant, it's like robbing the bank for one safety deposit box, but you take all of them and all the money. So that no one really knows what you were looking for or why. And I think there was just a book that had something they really wanted and they realized that if they got marked with having it, they would be followed and it would not go well. So they figured out that the best way to do it was to just steal what they needed, lock the doors, and set it on fire. That's pretty rough. That's pretty rough.
It is probably with the last of the unbetrayed companions that they had in life.
Oh, and everyone who helped make it happen too, like got the books, and even the accomplices. Everyone got baked and burned with the books. The whole thing went down Library of Alexandria style. So
it's sort of a domain of tomes and ashes, essentially, is kind of what we're looking at, right?
Ooh. Oh.
Oh, good. I can see the inspiration happening, and I've got some good
ideas. I've got some very good ideas.
So as we can also dip back and forth as we get into the next pieces, but of course the final elements of putting our Dark Lord together are that they are irredeemable. Once the dark powers take an evil person, that individual's fate is sealed. Before the final corruption, a person can atone, but only if they take genuine responsibility, heal the harm caused, and reform to prevent future harm. Once an evildoer becomes a Dark Lord, it is far too late. Consider whether your Dark Lord had a chance to redeem themselves and the decision that led to their current fate. And I feel like locking those doors might have been it.
That might have been it. The paranoia was just too much.
Mm-hmm. So we've got some good answers to our developing a Dark Lord questions. Did they benefit from their evil acts? They did. They accumulated power and knowledge. They escalated over time. They their last they betrayed their last companions. And an optional thing: do you want our Dark Lord to have a monstrous transformation?
I was
Coming to
thinking
them
about
over
that.
time.
I
There's a
I
table if we want to use it for inspiration, or you can just free field
hmm.
of imagination.
Um, hmm. I don't know. I was kicking around like hmm.
We can also keep it in the back of our minds as we
we can
develop the
we can
domain.
come back to that because there was a thing that I was like back and forth on because it also kind of might feed in really well to the torment of the realm, and I was kind of kicking that around.
All right,
So
back of the mind, back of the mind. Birth of a Dark Lord. Upon the completion of the Dark Lord's greatest irredeemable act, the mists drag them and perhaps the lands around them into the domains of dread. So at this point, we have an idea of who our Dark Lord is and what they did and how they came to the attention of the Dark Powers. So here's where you can go back and flesh things. Now, everything the Dark Lord knew changes, and they find themselves a prisoner within a domain of their own. And it is time to start talking about what is this domain? What do you
clearly,
already have
it's the
some
book
ideas?
collection. Yeah, clearly, it's their library.
Like a
It's
Borgesian
their
infinite library?
it's probably not infinite, but
Okay.
it's a very big library, and it's staffed, and it is a functional library. So, and in
Staffed
a
by whom
castle,
or
I think it's a
what?
cat. That is a question, isn't it?
Okay.
Um,
In a castle, you say?
I think it's like it's a fortress. I think it's a fortress library. I think it's a fortress of knowledge. So that's how I would
I
do it.
love it.
Somewhere
Are
remote.
there does it map to the place where our Dark Lord came from? Or like was there such a fortress in life, or is it sort of the one of their reflecting their ideal grasp of power?
I think there was one, but it's changed and it's turned in on itself, if that makes sense. It
Hmm.
used to keep things out. Now it keeps things in. And sort of bent. A lot
I
easier
love
to get
it.
in than out, I think.
Dark Lord shadows. A Dark Lord lurks at the heart of every domain of dread. Everything in their realm is inspired by or personalized to them in some way. Uh, let's see. So one suggestion that they have is if you're sort of imagining the evil acts that the Dark Lord did,
Hmm.
try to like what were the sort of overall impressions of like that fire, maybe the smells of the fire or the sounds of it? What sort of jumps out as an important detail from those evil acts or betrayals?
I had a really mean idea.
It's probably the right track for
um,
Domains of Dread.
yeah, I had a really mean idea. I think that the staff are all the people that were in the building. I think the fortress is entirely staffed by them, and
Mhm.
I'm I'm gonna say that they're probably relatively indifferent to what happened. It's more of a our job is to keep you in and otherwise keep you comfortable. Um, I think that any book this Dark Lord touches burns to ash in their hands,
Ah.
and the only way they can know anything is somebody in the cabin.
Oh, tell me that one more time. The only way they can know anything is
Somebody a servant in the castle has to read it to them, since any book that comes they come in contact with, if they even look at the words, it just ignites and burns. They can only see what's on the cover the minute it opens. If they even glance at the words, it's just gone.
can they access
So
the
they
knowledge
get to.
if they hear it out loud? Does it turn into does it become garbled or
I think they can hear it out loud. I think that they're just at the mercy of whoever's reading it, and And
Ah,
again, and it by its very nature, it must be shared. There's no way to just keep it. They can't. The things that that read it, and they also can decide you don't get to know this. This is not, but you'll know this. Like there's really suddenly it's other everybody else's autonomy what they know, and there's no way to privatize that knowledge. There's no way to hold it for yourself. It is always must be shared with whomever is listening.
that's
So otherwise it's
amazing. So
unavailable.
that's probably like the secret that they're guarding is that they can't access that information and they can't control. Ultimately, they can have no more secrets because they must share with one of their servants anytime they want to communicate or learn, right?
If yeah, and I think there are some servants who are fine with it, and I think there are some that just sit and listen so that they know that they can gossip as much as they like to whomever wanders through. Yeah, no more
So,
secrets. No more.
no
We're
more.
done.
I love it so much. It is a fortress of knowledge where secrets can't exist. Um,
Whisper
I'm
halls.
so happy.
I love you. You know whisper chambers, right? That like the churches where they build the hallways specifically so no matter how quietly you speak, it can be heard throughout the entire castle.
Oh, it's
That's
gotta
a real
have
thing.
those. Yeah.
Yeah, so like you start speaking out loud and God only knows where it's going.
Oh, I
Just the voice
love that.
carries throughout the building.
Wherever you are in the fortress, and this is something that you could build in, there is a chance that your whispers will be carried to some other part of the fortress, or you will overhear something from some other part of it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's the cloisters in New York, in the north, like in northern Manhattan, that actually have the whisper chambers where it just the voice just travels. Yeah, it's yeah. That's fun. That's mean.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So I think we're doing a pretty good job here covering endless torment
This is
in
pretty
every
good.
domain. Instruments of suffering from the Dark Lord's past ensure their greatest desire remains in view, but ever out of reach. Even though Dark Lord is effectively immortal, their psychology never changes and their wounds never heal. So consider we can pick sort of from the following reasons or be inspired by them as to why a Dark Lord's torment remains unignorable and central to a domain's story. And I feel like we've got some good options here. There's Deathless Returns, where those who die in the domain return reincarnated.
Hmm.
Endless Cycles, they shepherd another individual down a path of corruption in hopes of creating a successor, and it never lives up to their expectations. Or Last Gasp, an impending threat is on the cusp of overwhelming the Dark Lord in their domain. Or Obstinate Ignorance, the Dark Lord is cursed to be unable to learn from past mistakes or perceive their own failings, so they're always convinced it's going to go
Oh
differently this
yes.
time. Let's see. Shocking Reminders. It's drowning in reminders of their inadequacy.
Well,
Or
that's there.
Unpleasant Hope. Let's see. The Dark Lord's desire, commonly their bond, is present and obvious, but still unattainable. This instills hope in the Dark Lord that they're unable to deny, resist, or ignore. Is there one of those that jumped out at us as
Oh,
sort of the like?
clearly there's a way to undo this. Nothing is undoable. You just need to, and especially when you're, and I think books are, I think they're still trying to collect books because there's just one that's going to be the how to escape from this book. Because nothing is forever, nothing is unbreakable. I'm clearly there's a way out of this, and
So
the, yeah, and but the people who the creatures that inhabit that castle, the big rule is no book leaves, and nobody and the Lord can't leave. Like there's, it's just you can come in, you can bring a book in, but but nothing once it's in it stays. There's no they they will fight tooth and nail hard try and remove anything from the castle. But
I
yeah,
love
I
that.
would still be searching for a way out. There's a way out, clearly.
And so Dark Lords traditionally, they don't necessarily, very few of them ever figure out that they might be trapped in a domain, but our particular Dark Lord is trapped in this fortress, right? And so they have not figured out, they know that the rest of their country is out there, but they haven't figured out how to get out, but they also don't want to probably let on, right?
No, they are paranoid. They're very paranoid, and this is yeah the paranoia would never allow them to let anything slip through. So
I love it.
D&D Beyond now fits in the palm of your hand with the free D&D Beyond app. It's the perfect toolset for beginners, regular players, and seasoned dungeon masters. Play faster with the guided character creator and access your character sheets, spells, and abilities wherever you go. All of your adventures and source books are at your fingertips, even when you're offline. Easily find and access the rules you need when you need them. With more features to come, download the free D&D Beyond app today.